To the sky and say, help me to be strong. Oh, I just can't give up now. Come too far from where I started from. And nobody told me the road would be easy. And I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. I know you didn't bring me out here to leave me lonely, even when I can't see clearly. I know that you are with me, so I can't. No, I can't give up now. Said I come too far. And nobody told me the road. And I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
What if I told you that is just an assumption? I actually don't spend much time on my phone. I love to read. Or maybe you think I'm just fulfilling one of the many statistics. Which one do you like? Children growing up in single-parent families typically do not have the same economic or human resources available as those growing up in two-parent families. Children raised in single-parent households are more likely to drop out of school, to have or cause a teen pregnancy, or to experience a divorce. What about this one? Only 2% of African American women are represented in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields, while women in total make up 24% of the STEM workforce. I could keep going on and on and on, but that is not what I see in me. What if I told you I do not plan to conform to any of those statistics? I will not let them determine my future. What if I told you that I actually love school? I love attending my school, Sallie Howard. Here my horizons have been expanded for a new and brighter future. And I've learned that from my teachers. And not just from my teachers, from the leaders to the directors, the people in the cafeteria, even the custodial staff. Every staff member at this school believes in me, and that encourages me to keep going.
Today, the dreamer is living a dream. Yeah. And the dream is not over yet, folks. Yeah. In August of 2020, we will be opening up a high school of the arts and biotechnology. Yeah. We may be having fun, but we ain't playing.
Yeah. It is the first question I recall Sallie B. Howard asking me when I was about 13 years old. She stopped me one day as I was riding my bicycle and asked me a simple but profound question. Mrs. Howard asked me in almost a whisper, "Son, do you know who you are?" I was a little confused by the question. I mumbled something about being Mary Ray's grandson, and I told her that my mama's name was Diane, and I told her that I was in the 7th grade at Sam Vick Elementary School. Mrs. Howard interrupted me to respond lovingly but firmly, "Wrong. You are that, but more. You are a Nubian prince. You are the progeny of a proud people. You are the heir to a great legacy. And you have a special gift, and God's going to do something with you." And I tell students all the time, all over North Carolina at least, that the United States of America is only 5% of the world. That's right. 95% of the world, young people, is outside of our country. That's right. Just think about that. 5% of the world is in our country, 95% is away. And so if you're going to be productive and successful, you've got to understand the world. You've got to understand cultures. You've got to understand that it's more than, as we saw when we grew up, it's not just black and white anymore. It's black and white and brown and other races all across the world. And I looked up the word learn, and you know, one of the things when you do word studies, you find out that some words are very complex, and one of them is learning. There are many ways that learning can be described. I found a page that had about 20 different ways. One definition of learning is when one has a change in human disposition or capability that persists over a period of time and is not simply ascribable to the process of growth, then a person has learned something. And the author of that particular piece, From the Conditions of Learning, was really suggesting that you can never say just because people got old, they learned something. Somebody has to learn you something, as my grandmama say. I mean, if you don't believe what I just said, that just getting old doesn't make you learn, check out the current occupant of the White House, and that's Exhibit A. For being stuck in your own vacuum and unwilling to eat. You might be old, but it doesn't mean you've learned anything. Another author said learning is the relative permanent change in a person's knowledge or behavior due to experience. When you learn something, it changes you in a way that's evident. It creates a permanent new way of looking at the world. So when you come to Sallie B. Howard and you learn that not only is the United States of America only 5% of the world's population, the United States of America isn't the only America.
That's right.
I'm always interested in these people that says we don't want folk coming to America. Well, you're not the only Americans.
That's right.
You got South America, they're Americans too.
That's right.
This is just North America.
That's right.
And all of the Americans in North America aren't even in the United States of America, because Canada is in the North America.
Right.
So, and when you learn that, and you learn about your culture and learn who you are, it permanently changes the way of seeing the world.
I was privileged to do that. It was an exciting time, and the portrait is now outside. That was a lightning bolt. That was one of the great things in my life to be part of. Was to ride the electricity in the room with the great Sallie B. Howard.
Yes.
At this time, however, I have to admit that and Janet had the same experience. We kept being part of the Joanne Woodard world as well, because she made so much happen. And she's made other things happen for me in the studio too, photographing kids in a sort of a protest picture relating to the NRA and school killings. And she had the courage to help me produce a photograph. Very difficult to do. And she just knew how to pull it together, and that it was worth doing, and that maybe artists can do what artists can sometimes do, and we can speak for what's right in our hearts, and somehow through art make the world better, whereas the government doesn't seem to be able to do that very much these days. So what I would like to now do is ask Joanne, when I kept seeing you and how you worked with Sallie B. and just how you've worked with the children, and how I see them surround you with hugs and affection, and I see how you give in great abundance from your heart and your energy. So what I would like to ask you, may I please have the great honor of photographing your lightning bolt. May I get you in the studio or wherever it seems appropriate, and let's work together and do something, because here you are, these two magnificent human beings, unlike anybody else in the world. Whenever you've seen two people this good and this powerful and this right about things, sitting side by side and working together in a school.
Very, very special.
love it. Thank you so much. This is from our art department, our art director. You did this? Students, it's a student. Oh, wow. That's a collage of several important events and accomplishments that have occurred here at Sallie B. Howard.
You don't even know how important you are to me. You don't even know how important you are to the world. Because not a lot of Sallie B. Howard schools all over this world. But Dr. Joanne Woodard, she decided we needed one. And she went out and she started to work to get you one. Because let me tell you something, little sisters and brothers, nobody's going to do it for you but yourself. You've got to do it. You got to forget about that word they. They won't do it for me. They who? You are they. You get out there and do it for yourself. And that is exactly what I learned. She keeps saying she learned so much from me, but I learned so much from her too, because she was willing to do it.